Hello beautiful people, and welcome to your astrological video. In this one we're going to be looking at the Aries New Moon, which will be taking place this Friday, and this is the first new moon of this astrological year. Normally we start astrological year and then we have usually new moon in Aries right away, but this time we had the full moon in Libra first. But the new moon in Aries is still happening. It's happening this Friday on the 27 degrees. This is the first new moon that is not happening on 28 degrees, because as I mentioned, we had the 6 new moons since Libra new moon in October that were taking place on 28 degrees, connected to this year number 1 that we are experiencing at the moment. But no, this new moon in Aries is cutting the pattern. It's happening on 27 degrees, which adds up to number 9, which is all about endings. And the most important thing to pay attention to, of course, is that this is the final lunation with Uranus in the sign of Taurus in our lifetime. And it is happening on, well, Uranus, it's on 29 degrees for this new moon in Aries. There are other things happening, of course. I will be covering all of those, or at least those that pop up for me. But before I get there, I just would like to let you all know, as we are approaching the beginning of Taurus season, which for some of us will begin on Sunday night, for some of us on Monday morning, doesn't matter, it is happening within the next 3 days. This is the day when I will be starting my birthday sale, because my birthday is actually happening in a week's time on Sunday, on April 26th. So in honor of my birthday, I am actually offering a discount on all my readings that are done by me. So this will exclude the readings that my husband offers, because there are some that he does without me, just on his own, and those will be excluded. But if you would like to book any of my readings just with me, then those will be discounted until the end of the month. So this is a great opportunity to book the readings, because this will be the biggest sale of the year from me, even bigger than the Black Friday, because I offer the biggest discounts for my birthday. So with that out of the way, I am going to dive into what's going on with astrology. I'm actually pre-recording this on Wednesday. Moon is already in the sign of Aries as I'm recording this, but some of the things that haven't happened at the time of me recording this will have already happened by the time you're watching this video, if you're watching this. And those are: tomorrow on Thursday the 16th, we will experience Sun making a conjunction to Chiron. This is very important because, of course, this will be fully active for this new moon in Aries. It will be happening in conjunction with the Chiron. Chiron actually will be in a balsamic phase to the new moon. Also, tomorrow on Thursday 16th, Mars is making a sextile to Pluto. This is the first sextile since the conjunction. Mars in Aries, Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, which is the foundational sextile. And of course, Mars in the sign of his rulership is the ruler of this upcoming new moon in Aries, already in a new phase conjunction with Neptune. This was the first conjunction they had, Mars and Neptune in a sign of Aries, since 1847, I believe it was, like 1800 something. So it's been a long time. No, actually 1874, I believe it was. So it's been a long time either way since Mars and Neptune conjuncting in a sign of Aries. So definitely we'll paying attention to these cycles. And also Mars is coming into his conjunction with Saturn, but that will take place after this new moon. It will take place on Sunday. And also tomorrow on Thursday we'll have the Mercury conjuncting Neptune, and we are also coming towards this Mars-Saturn conjunction that's on Sunday, as I mentioned. And then there is also the Mercury and Mars conjunction that's happening on Monday the 20th. Why is this important? Because they had 5 conjunctions, already had 4. This is the number 5 that's been taking place since last fall, since last October, November. I know their first conjunction was in the sign of Scorpio, and they had one in Sagittarius, or vice versa. So they've been conjuncting quite a few times since then, 4 times to be exact. And this is the 5th one, which is not really usual for Mercury and Mars to have 5 conjunction in 6 months period. Usually is one in 2 years. So this is the final one in the sign of Aries, which is taking place on Monday, and this will be right after Mercury will have made a conjunction to Saturn. So this is all to look forward to post this new moon in Aries. And as I already mentioned, this is the final lunation, new moon, full moon, no matter, for final lunation with Uranus in the sign of Taurus, and it is happening for Uranus on the anuretic 29 degrees. So I'm going to have a look what's going on with the astrology. So as I already mentioned, the new moon is happening on Friday the 17th. For me in Vallarta is early in the morning, 5:51 a.m. For you it is whatever time it is for you, wherever you are in the world, that's depending. And this cycle is resetting the cycle that actually was seen last year on the 29th of March, which with the final eclipse in the sign of Aries. It was the final eclipse in the sign of Aries that took place last year only a day before Neptune moved into sign of Aries for the first time, and actually there was the Neptune-Mercury conjunction on the anuretic 29 degrees, right as Neptune was coming out of Pisces, and Mercury was going back into Pisces because Mercury was retrograde at the time. So this is a first new moon in the sign of Aries that is not an eclipse. That is not an eclipse because, like I mentioned last year, it was still the final eclipse in the sign of Aries, even though the nodes were already in the sign of Virgo and Pisces at the time. So the cycle is being resetted now because we have the cycle from new moon to new moon, but of course then we build in cycle over cycles over cycles. So that's, happening over the longer period of time. And that eclipse new moon in Aries was illuminated because, of course, full moon is the illumination on October 7th, 2025. So that's when we had the full moon in Aries, the most recent one. And that one was, actually, for some of you, it might have been on the 6th because I was in Europe at the time. So 6th, 7th of October last year, and that was on 14 degrees and 8 minutes of Aries. And at the time, we already had Saturn back in the sign of Pisces. Neptune was still in the sign of Aries at the time, retrograde. And also Uranus was still in the sign of Gemini, for that one already retrograde. And Mars at the time was in the sign of Scorpio, so in the sign of his rulership by the traditional rulership. So so that moon at the time, the full moon, was actually conjunct, kind of like white conjunction with both Neptune and Chiron, and there was also a Venus in conjunction with South Node at the time. So but this is all passé for us. Of course, now we are experiencing the new moon. As I said, the cycle is resetting, and this new moon will be illuminated on September 26th. September 26th, 2026, we will have the full moon in Aries, which will be happening on 3 degrees and 37 minutes. And by that point, of course, everybody will be in a new signs, including Uranus, because as I mentioned, Uranus is moving back into the sign of Gemini. Actually, it's happening very soon on the 25th, so only just over a week after this new moon. And also, by the time Chiron will be actually back in the sign of Taurus, I believe that might be the first lunation, or if not lunation, definitely the first full moon with Chiron back in the sign of Aries, because we'll have a Chiron moving into the sign of Taurus for a brief few months in June. So that's for another time, but now I'm going to fully focus on this new moon in Aries. So as I already mentioned, it's happening in conjunction with Chiron, because Sun and Chiron are conjuncting now on Thursday, day before. And because of that, as a static object in sky, Chiron is put behind the sun. So as a static object in the sky, it is in a so-called balsamic closing phase conjunction, even though the cycle already resetted. And this means that something is ending. Something is ending. Of course, Chiron, being in a sign of Aries, is ruled by Mars, and Mars is in a sign of Aries as well. They're also gonna have a conjunction, and Mars is in this new phase with Neptune, and in a closing phase with Saturn. So there is already something has been initiated with regards to this. We are creating something that holds a deeper meaning, that it's also for us to create, because Mars is on the 5 degree point, the Leo degree. So it's saying that I have to create it, I have to create it. I have to decide what holds a meaning for me. And also with this closing phase to Saturn, Mars closing to Saturn being a sign of Aries, actually at 7 degrees for this lunation. 7 degrees is connected to Libra. We know that Saturn is exalted in Libra, so we are balancing the past with the future in a present moment. So we are deciding, okay, what it is that I desire to create, because of course Sun is exalted in the sign of Aries. This is the sign of his exaltation, and this is a first new moon of this new astrological year. So it's saying, what do you want to create in this upcoming cycle? Because with the eclipses you can say, okay, destiny is in charge, and the fates and stuff, but this is a non-eclipse. This is the first Aries new moon after the eclipses, and first new moon in Aries that is not an eclipse since last year. And also, as I mentioned, this is the final lunation with Uranus in the sign of Taurus on the anuretic 29 degrees. And for this one, Venus is still in the sign of Taurus. Venus is the ruler of Uranus, and they are going to have their final conjunction on April 23rd on that anuretic 29 degree point, after which Venus will move into the sign of Gemini, and then 2 days later, Uranus will also move into the sign of Gemini, where Uranus will stay for the next 8 years. So this is what we got going on here. Also, what else is going on? let's see, Jupiter is still in a kind of white orb square with this moon, because Jupiter is on 17 degrees of Cancer. So this is a first quarter square. First quarter square is always about crisis in action. Of course, as repeatedly mentioned, Jupiter and moon are connected by the rulership. Jupiter is ruled by the moon, so it's been influenced by every lunation. Every lunation is influenced in Jupiter. Jupiter is 17 degrees, so this is again number 5, right? 17, 12, and 5, 17. So this is all about creation again, and it's saying that the reality that you're going to be creating will be in response, right? Saturn on the 7 degrees, Libra degree, will be mirroring to you who you becoming, who you choosing to become, right? Also with this Mercury, as I mentioned, we are having this final conjunction between Mercury and Mars a few days later, right? It was Monday the 20th, I believe. We having this final conjunction between Mercury and Mars out of 5, again, five elements, the creation, 5. And this is happening in a sign of Aries. So Mercury here for this moon is on 3 degrees of Aries, 3 Mercurian number, and it's also about the choice with regards to numerology is the Jupiterian number 3, the number of expansion in a tarot is the Empress, right, which is about what am I choosing to create, who am I choosing to become in this new earth. And this is also with Mercury being in this new phase conjunction with Neptune, and Mercury coming into closing phase conjunction with Saturn, because the old timelines are now dissolving, they're already gone, right? The old choices have been balanced, it's already done, right? Like the karma has been paid off in a sense. Now we are no more looking backwards, we are forward looking, no more looking back into the Sodom and Gomorrah and you become the stone. Now we are all about forward momentum. And also with all of these planets, being a sign of Aries, they are in the new phase conjunction with the North Node, currently still in the sign of Pisces, and this North Node again, white orb, right, bright orb, so it's not really affecting this moon as per se. But let's see what is the node affecting. There is an exact in conjunction, Saturn on 7 degrees, South Node on 7 degrees. So there is an exact in conjunction between Saturn and the South Node. South Node, of course, ruled by Mercury. Mercury being a sign of Aries, the new way of thinking, the new program. Mercury is post-retrograde, out of his shadow by this point. And Saturn, Saturn being a sign of Aries, as we already said, this is the new cycle of creation, new cycle of manifestation. Saturn is the form. What are we creating? What are we manifesting? And also with the Venus closing to Uranus, preparing for a final conjunction with Uranus on anuretic 29 degrees of Taurus, and this is culminating Uranus transit. Venus has been ruler of Uranus since Uranus moved into the sign of Taurus. Of course, we had a brief few months last year when Mercury was the ruler in the sign of Gemini, Uranus in the sign of Gemini, and that's gonna, of course, happen again when Uranus moves into the sign of Gemini on April 25th, 26th. So anyway, with this Venus in a closing phase conjunction with Uranus, this is a lot of Piscean energy, Piscean and Aryan energy. And as I already mentioned at the beginning, this lunation is happening on 27 degrees, which is the number 9. The number 9 is the number of ending. So this is where things are truly, truly ending. We already talked about New Year, Gregorian New Year, the New Year, Chinese New Year, right? We entered into the year of the horse, we entered into astrological year, but it's not truly a new year, astrological year, until the new moon in Aries, right? This is where it really kicks off. So this is a very paradoxical moon, because it's got a lot of alpha and omega going on there, because it's saying like, yes, here we go, Aries, Mars in Aries, but Mars is in a closing phase conjunction with Saturn, and Saturn is the one that gives the form, is the final earth sign, Capricorn, that gives the form, that is the final result of the manifesting process, because after that you only have Aquarius and Pisces. So it's like, okay, you go back to the quantum field and give it back to spirit, that which lost the meaning. So going back to this Venus, even though we are talking about Mars as the ruler of Aries, but going back to this Venus for a brief moment, being in a closing phase conjunction with this Uranus, she's saying like, okay, now we're going to excavate the meaning of everything that we've learned since 2018 when Uranus entered into the sign of Taurus, and what it taught us about values, what it taught us about value of self, value of what we're relating to, because Venus, the ruler of Taurus, the ruler of Libra. And of course, if it is in conjunction between Saturn and the South Node being a sign of Virgo, those who walk the earth, until this point in history, present, past, future, whatever, this Virgo is all about And I mean, this south node is on 7 degrees. Again, this is the Libra degree. So this is where we got the Venus connection. It's saying that, okay, we are here now to balance the scale. You know, the karma is already balanced, it's already done. But we are now going to choose something new to help to balance the scale from this point of creation, from the point of I am making a new choice, you know, just like we have with these emotions, you know, with this Jupiter square in the moon white orb, but still, you know, I'm going to count it in crisis in action. You need to choose to become a different person, you know, like when we are experiencing all these situations, circumstances, interactions, triggers, you know, and these emotions come up, these emotions, they need to live, you know, they need to be embodied in order to transform, in order for a new choice to be made. We need to feel it, you know, like how am I going to know what's going on here if I don't feel it? It's all just a theory, you know, like when you're in a spirit form, everything is just a theory. That's why we come here to experience things. So with this Venus in a closing phase to Uranus, she's saying that, okay, now with everything that we've experienced in this past, whatever, 7 years, you know, 7 plus 8 years, when Uranus has been transiting through the sign of Taurus, now we're going to excavate the meaning, you know, we're talking about Pisces, closing phase, balsamic phase conjunction is always about Pisces. It's saying, what have you learned? You know, what have been the meaning of this journey, you know, meaning of this transit? So the Venus is saying, what have you learned about yourself? You know, this is happening on 20, will be happening. I mean, at this time, Venus is on 21 degrees, you know, at the time of this new moon. What is 21? 21 is the world card in tarot. So it's saying we graduated from this lesson that was to teach us about the value of self, right? Because as I mentioned already in my previous video, with Chiron moving into the sign of Taurus, you know, the key that unlocks Saturn and takes you to Uranus, right? The manifested form, which is the outcome of the past cycles of manifestation, of creation. You know, with the Uranus, you're going beyond that. With Uranus, you're going into a new timeline, right? So now we're talking about this Venus close into Uranus. Uranus is the ruler of Pluto, right? Venus on 21 degree, you know, the degree of world card. Here we go. Saturn is on 7 degrees. Venus, South Node is on 7 degrees. Venus, you know, Libra. And now we have the 21, the connection to Saturn. That 21, the world card is saying we graduated. We graduated from these contracts. We graduated from this way of experiencing reality, relating to reality in this way. So now Venus calls into Uranus. She's saying, what was the meaning? What have you learned? What have you learned about this, about self, about the value of self, right? Because that's you know, that's what we came here to learn all along. Like, who am I in relation to the existence? And now slowly to be entering into Taurus season, right, on the 20th, you know, depending where you are in the world. For me, it's happening on the 19th. We are going to give it the form, right? Even though the new moon in Taurus is not happening until like mid-May, but we will have the full moon in Scorpio on May 1st, from the May Day, right? We're gonna have the first, like May Day, first full moon in Scorpio, here we go, right? So this is what we're preparing ourselves with, right? Like we are seeding, truly seeding this new year of astrological year, the year of 10, the year of 0 and the 1, the Fool and the Magician. It's truly being seeded right here, right now, with this Alpha and Omega new moon in Aries on this number 9, 27, with this final you know, energy of Uranus in the sign of Taurus. They're saying, I disrupted everything that you believed about yourself, about life, about what holds a value, what holds a meaning, right? Like, what was all of that for? You know, all the material, all the manifested. Is this the true foundation that's gonna allow me to become who I came here to be? You know, so that's why the in conjunction between the Saturn and South Node, like you have to make a new choice. With Mercury as the ruler of the South Node, we all have to. It's not just this is like one person, right? With Mercury being on these 3 degrees of Aries, right? The 3 degrees, the degree of a choice, the degree of an expansion based on Jupiter, the degree of the new Earth, you know, based on Empress in a tarot. This Mercury is saying you need to choose something new, right? And this is also like like I said, and underline, you know, with this Jupiter, and Jupiter is also in a square with Mars, right? I mean, white orb, 12 degrees. Jupiter is still in a square with Saturn, again, white orb, square with the moon, like I said, square with the Chiron. So Jupiter is technically squaring all of it in Aries, little bit white orb, but, you know, still counts. So it's saying like we have to create a new story over here, you know, as a humanity. I mean, Jupiter is on Scorpionic decan of Cancer, and this is the Leo degree 17. So it's saying we have to create a new story, all right? A story where humanity feels more empowered, because guess what? With the Mars in Aries on that 5, it's saying I'm ready to create, Sun in exaltation for the new moon in Aries, like, yeah, let's do it. And Pluto being in Aquarius, and Pluto is, what is Pluto doing? Obviously, Pluto is still in a sextile with Uranus. Not sextile, trine with Uranus. The exact trine is happening this summer, and also Uranus is in the sextile, still in sextile with Neptune. So we are, and this is a foundational sextile between Neptune and Uranus. So there's about foundation, right? Uranus is the ruler of Pluto, foundation of the Aquarian age, foundation of the Aquarian age by choosing to think differently. So every time we experiencing these thoughts and emotions that are based on the past, based on the, the emotions of the past, we have the opportunity to make that new choice. And this is how we liberating ourselves from the pattern, right? So what is, in a nutshell, what is this new moon about? With the Chiron there, Chiron, the key between Saturn and Uranus in a closing phase, ruled by this Mars on the 5 degrees. It say, well, the only way you're gonna cut it is through authentic expression, right? Mars on 5 degrees, Leo, authentic expression. Mars close into Saturn. Why? Because this hasn't been done before. Not the way that is not even necessary. It's essential. It's essential to take place now, because everything that's not authentic is not gonna survive. It is not gonna survive, because even with Mercury close into this Saturn on the 3 degrees, it say this whole program is ended. It's ended. That's why you need to choose new. You need to choose something new. So, and also Mercury, it's in sextile with that Pluto. Like I mentioned, that's happening 2 days after, I think, the exact sextile. So many things going on. Let me see. Mercury sextile to Pluto. That's on the 18th. It's actually the following day. Mercury is making an exact sextile to Pluto. And like I said, that's the foundational sextile. So that's about the foundation of the Aquarian age with regards to choice and with regards to way of thinking, because again, we are moving into the territory with Uranus in Gemini. Uranus in Gemini, the timelines. So what is this new moon in Aries about? The new moon in Aries is saying that this is truly when the old has ended. It's truly ending, right? Because of that, a new choice has to be made. Because of that, we are experiencing the form, the past manifestations of the thoughts and the desires and the wishes and the creative process that created this reality we are experiencing right here, right now. That form is already gone. Saturn is in Aries. It's saying that we are here to create a new form. We are here to create a new foundation. With Uranus finished with Taurus, like the foundation of the world you experience it at the moment is done, is gone. It's unsustainable. It doesn't hold the meaning that it used to, because of course, everything goes through a cycle. Everything in a physical form, it goes through a cycle, when it's new, then it peaks, and then eventually, the glory of it is gone. And then it expires. Everything in a physical form goes through the cycle of beginning and ending. Physical form, not everything that is non-manifested. So anyway, so with all of these transits, and again, with the in conjunction between Saturn and the South Node, we're going somewhere we haven't been before. We're here to create it. Mars on that 5 degrees, we're here to create it. Like you don't know what it is because it's fully unknown. Aries is all about just like, well, here's the energy. What you're gonna do with it? What you're gonna create? And of course, this is not easy, because with the Jupiter in this scorpionic decan of Cancer, it's saying like, well, but what if I die? What if I won't survive? Jupiter is the traditional ruler of the North Node, like if everything is everything, there are no boundaries. Saturn in Aries, we are learning to redefine everything anew. We are learning like, well, where are the new boundaries? Where is the new structure reality? Well, it's not yet there because Saturn is in Aries. We have to wait until Saturn moves into Taurus, right? So with this Jupiter, on this scorpionic decan of Cancer connected to this new moon, is saying like, well, what are we going to do about this if there is no evidence, if there is no if the history is not going to apply, like I mentioned in my practical application of astrology, what my husband believes. He says that those, like the saying goes that those who don't know the history, they're bound to repeat it, but he believes the opposite. He believes, no, those who know the history are bound to repeat it because it's on your mind. So now these transits are saying like, well, you cannot look at the past, you cannot look at the history, because the history is not going to repeat itself the same way, because guess what, Saturn, Neptune in Aries, new direction, new energy, which is not yet in a form, so you can't really predict it, plus Mercury, being the sign of Aries on the 3 degrees, plus Uranus is just about to move into the sign of Gemini, this is the final one with the Taurus, and Venus as the ruler is in a closing phase. So everything that we think we know, everything that we think that holds a value, is actually being questioned, with the Mercury as the rule of the South Node, the physical experience of the soul in the human body. Everything is being questioned, like, okay, well, it's time to become curious, because everything is a maybe, like there are no guarantees with anything, especially with this Aries energy. There's so much Aries energy, but also so much frequency of the Leo and frequency of the Pisces, so it's saying like, well, we have to co-create with the spirit, but if spirit is your boss, there is no physical written contract, there is no job description, it's just all very intuitive, right? So this is with the Jupiter in Scorpio, what we're learning is to create from that space, like, yeah, I'm afraid, but what choice do I have, to keep allowing the fear to dictate my life, which just keeps me stuck in the same loop, or to go beyond the fear and see what's on the other side, see a place I haven't seen before, like go to the other side, which is the unknown. So this is pretty much what is being initiated. With the endings, the new beginnings are guaranteed. The new beginning is already here, but it's not yet manifest, it not yet has a form. Mars is still in the sign of Aries as the ruler of Aries, right? And Venus, even though she's in Taurus, she's on the anuretic, 21 degree at this stage. She will be on anuretic when she conjuncts Uranus, but Venus is on a Capricornian decan, and Saturn, Saturn is in Aries, and Mars is in Aries in a closing phase conjunction to Saturn. So here are all the Piscean energies, the closing phase conjunction, which is saying that it's time to excavate the meaning. What was this cycle about? What have we learned? What was the teaching in this cycle? Why did we go through this? What we were to experience and why? And sometimes there are no words, because even with Mercury in Aries, like in the last retrograde we just experienced recently was in Pisces. So, this is where we learning to understand without words, when we learning to communicate without words, because the words are limiting, and the words are just a replication. We just keep saying the same thing over and over again. So this is where we are being, we will be moving into into a new chapter for humanity, where actually the words will become less and less, where that which is known we will not have words for, it will be communicated in a different way. So this is all part of it. This is all part of that foundation that we're creating for this new age for humanity, which is, again, it's going to be a completely different world down here. It's not like, oh yeah, we're just going to same but different. Yeah, it's gonna be very different. So, and we don't know what it is. That's why there is that unknown. There is that in conjunction between Saturn and South Node. Well, we don't know where we go, and and this is a closing in conjunction, right? Yeah, because the nodes move anti-clockwise. So this is a closing. Well, actually. No, nodes move. Yeah, well, anyway, nodes moved in opposite direction to the planet. So the Saturn with the nodes, they moving towards one another. So this is a closing in conjunction between Saturn and the South Node. So that is a Scorpio. So this is, of course it makes sense, because Jupiter is on the Scorpionic decan of Cancer. So this is where we head in, how are we going to feel more empowered in this world where a lot of things are not in our control, They are not in our control. There are some other contracts that are out of our jurisdictions, and a lot of those are, they're just playing out without you having to do anything, right? So it's like, okay, so what role am I choosing in my own universe, in my own world, where I can make my free will choice to decide about what do I want to experience in the right here, right now, that is, right in front of me, that is not bound by the bigger contracts, by the higher contracts that are not in my control. So with the Saturn in conjunction with the South Node, we don't see, we don't know, because in a sense, we are going through a death, right? We are going through a death and rebirth, with the Pisces to Aries, death and rebirth. Well, old cycles are ending, new cycles are already here, but they not yet have the form. They don't have the form yet, because with the Venus, the only one currently in the sign of Taurus for this lunation close into Uranus, so Venus is the rule of Uranus, of course the rule of Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, and Saturn is the traditional rule in the sign of Aries, with Mars in the sign of Aries close into Saturn, and Venus close into Uranus, of course. So this is saying that everything that you know about this world, everything that you know about life, it's not what you think. It's not what you think. You have to learn to understand it in a different way, which is not verbal, that is not explained to be explained logically. It's to be felt, it's to be embodied, it's to be experienced, and then you know, right? So we have to go through this process of metamorphosis to fully understand what it's about, and we won't understand while it's happening. So this is why, like, all of these cycles that we are experiencing at the moment, we will not understand them until they are reset. These cycles are like past cycles in the future, so like, for example, like with these Aries new moons that we experienced until last year, there was no full moon in Aries, there was none, not zero, just the same way as now we're going to be experiencing new moons in Leo. There will be no full moon in Leo, no lunar eclipse in Leo. So we have to wait until the illumination, the full moon lunar eclipse in Aries, in the next 8 years, full moon or 7, whatever it is by this point, the full moon lunar eclipse in Leo, like by that point we will have a little bit more understanding. But right here, right now, like, new moon, what you mean? Don't have a clue. So just the same way as like last year, like you didn't really know what the hell was going on in end of March when we had the new moon in Aries, but maybe by October you had a little bit of idea, like, okay, I kind of feel where this might be going or something. Obviously by then Jupiter was in Cancer. So this is all about us being forced to become more attuned to our emotions, being forced to start tapping into something that is just felt but not mentally understood, so something like that. So anyway, just to bring all of this, me talking in circles into some kind of like coherence and close it and move to the cards. This new moon represents the Alpha and the Omega. The cycles truly are ending, and new cycles truly are here, beginning. And the new cycles are going to be very different from the old cycles. They were initiated by the eclipses, a new moon in Aries eclipses, which were directly connected to Pluto's move into the sign of Aquarius. That's where they began, the new moon in Aries, first one in 2023, right? When Pluto first ingressed into the sign of Aquarius, only for a few months, but still. So this is what really initiated all of this, that yes, it is really here. You can see it now happening in the world, you can see it happening in your life, when things really are changing. And it is really not comfortable for many of us, because it's like, if this thing is going, then what is it being replaced with? And as everything is just in a initiation and like at the fire form, fire, you need to do something with it, like it doesn't really have a form until it's been used to make a sword or something, so that's what I mean. The fire of creation is here, but it's not yet the creation is not yet here, fully, it's not yet in a physical form. Saturn is in Aries, right? So that's what I mean. So this is where things are becoming very, very obvious to us that, oh yeah, world is changing. We are in a new cycle. We don't know where the hell we're going. We don't really understand it. We can't even predict it. We try, yeah, you can look, Saturn conjunct Mars last time in, late 1990s, like what was going on there, Neptune conjunct Mars last time in 1874, whatever, what was going on there, you can check. But the world was a different place. The level of human collective consciousness was very different, in 1800s plus. we didn't even know Pluto existed, or Chiron, or a lot of other things, right? So the consciousness of humanity now is different, just as it will be different in next 160 years, when Neptune and Mars will conjunct again in Aries, like it will be a completely different world over here. So that's what I mean. There are certain things where, yeah, you can energetically say, oh yeah, change is coming, the world is changing, oh, for sure. But the world is not now what it was in 1800s, and the world is not gonna be the same in 2100 something, 80, whatever. It's gonna be a very different world. So this is what I mean. Energetically, yes, we can tap into, oh yeah, big shifts are happening, changes are coming. Obvious, everybody knows that. But what it's gonna look like? How that's gonna look like in a form, in a manifestation. Well, who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? Especially now with Pluto in Aquarius, and especially because Uranus is moving into Gemini and Mercury is in Aries. So it's saying like, the timelines is whatever you want. It's whatever you want. And it's, in a sense, yeah, you can say, well, it's exciting, isn't it? It's whatever I want. But we have to take a responsibility for that. So that's what I mean when they give you a clear blank canvas and they say, okay, well, yeah, here you go, start anew from the beginning. And then you say, what do you mean? What are the rules? Am I doing it right? The South Node in Virgo. Yeah, there is no right and wrong. It's just universe is saying like, yeah, the old way of being on this planet is finished, like, can say good riddance for some of it, even though quite a lot of it is still playing out, is in the last thrones of dying. But what about the other things, that we are attached to? Like, oh, I used to be this. I used to be able to trust my brain. I used to be able to trust the evidence or, the science or the logic or the data or whatever. I used to be able to do that. Now I can't do that anymore. So that's what I mean. There are things that we can look back at with nostalgia and say like, well, I wish, this was still here. Just like, people like my parents' age, retired people, they look back and say like, oh, the world used to be much better place when I was a kid in the 60s and the kids could still play on a street and we didn't have to be worried about them being kidnapped and sold as organ donors and whatever, So yeah, there are pros and cons to every age. Obviously, like the kids today have certain advantages and prerogatives we didn't have, and vice versa. Every generation, just like everything in every life, in every incarnation, is a mixed bag of goods. It comes with things that we prefer and say, oh yeah, this is great. I'm so grateful for washing machine and a tumble dryer. I don't have to go to the creek, and wash it like my great grandmother used to. Or whatever, and I can have clean sheets and I can have hot running water and I can take a shower every day if I want to, so there are things that we enjoy, that we take for granted and say, well, yeah, of course, this is 21st century, right? But it wasn't always, of course, it wasn't always part of everyday life. And then there are things that are not so enjoyable, like the constant fatigue, being radiated all the time and eating polluted food and so on and so forth. So that's what I mean, bags of goods, every soul in every incarnation, it has to deal with both. Like there is something like, oh yeah, I enjoy that, bring it on. And there are the other things which we say like, I remember things being different, maybe the food tasted much better 100 years ago, maybe not so many options, but what was there was probably healthier, whatever. So that's what I mean. So now with all of this, that we know all of this, logically we know all of that. Obviously there is a lot of history that we think we know, but it's, it's all his story, made up beliefs. Now this Jupiter, as the rule of the North Node, Neptune as the rule of the North Node, Neptune in Aries, Jupiter, now direct and all that, squaring this moon crisis in action. It's saying like, well, now you just have to figure it out for yourself, kind of, you have to learn to trust yourself. You need to allow the spirit to guide you. And then you go, well, what do you mean, spirit? What do you mean? Like, how do I know I'm doing it right? How do I know that this is right? How do I know? Well, that's what Jupiter in Cancer is teaching us. Well, how does it feel? Does it feel expansive or does it feel restrictive? And then obviously the mind can give you a million explanations why what is what, but then if the feeling doesn't go away, that's something like, like when people say like, well, how do I know it's my mind or it's my intuition, right? Well, do you have an explanation for it? does it go away? Because like there are things like, even for me, for everyone, that are pop up in my life, and I say, well, I don't know why, it's just in my mind all the time, it doesn't go away, so I guess I need to pay attention to it. I don't know why, but usually sometime down the road I do find out why. So that's what we're learning. We're learning this new way of being. We are initiated into this new way of being, in every single possible way, every lunation, initiation, because the old way of being, it's not working anymore. It is just not working anymore, and it is not easy, because it brings up a lot of fears and insecurities, and the Chiron thing, like, we're going into new direction. What does that mean? Who am I going to be? And if I'm going to be someone I've never been before, then how do I know what to do? What are the rules? Who is there to help me, guide me? What do you mean, my higher self, something I can't see, and I don't even know, like, it doesn't even speak, it doesn't even communicate, like, how do I know? So this is all that we're going through right now, right? And I mean, we're going through it at a rapid pace because horse, the fire horse here. So yes, so the bottom line is the things will never be the same, ever. They will never be the same. In some ways they'll be better, in some ways they'll be more challenging. Are things gonna get easier? No. We have to become more resilient. Are we going to be able to trust everyone and everything? No. That's why we're learning how to trust oneself, and that's why we're learning to read energy and to feel into things, and to connect with people that resonate. You might not know why you're attracted to that person. Well, perhaps they have something for you, or you have something for that. Usually it's reciprocation, right? So with all of these things that we are experiencing at the moment, we are learning the value of self. And we are learning that, yes, if I value myself, if I trust myself, I know that I'll always be here for myself no matter what, and I follow that guidance, and I'm gonna go somewhere. I'm gonna go somewhere new, and there will be aspects of it that I enjoy more and aspects of it then maybe I enjoy less. But all in all, it's gonna help me to grow, expand, and all in all, I will feel that, well, somehow I know this, I'm in the right place at the right time. So yeah, so I feel with this new moon in Aries, this is a very powerful nation. I mean, we have a lot of concentration over there in these Aries, and of course, with the North Node being the sign of Pisces, also very, yeah. I can't see Lilith on this chart, but I believe Lilith is somewhere in Sagittarius, but in any case, doesn't really matter. Juno is conjunct Pluto, this is in Aquarius. So yeah, cosmic wedding, right? You, yourself, and your higher self, your cosmic family. So we are learning to connect with energies that maybe we've not connected ever, at least not in this physical form, and maybe just not for a long time. So we're learning to remember, and this Jupiter, it's challenging us. It's saying like, yeah, remember, learn to remember. And it's in a sextile with Venus. This is a closing sextile that's Aquarius, because the old sense of self, the old values, the old foundation, it is gone. The world is changing, and you're changing with it, and what it will change to for you depends on your relationship to yourself, and that will then influence your relationship to reality and your relationship to everything. So yeah, so with this new moon in Aries, it's initiation of something that we don't know yet, but we know for sure it's gonna be different. So in a nutshell, that was kind of the headlight. So anyway, so I'm gonna pull some cards and see what comes up. But yeah, this is a very, I mean, I just feel like I keep repeating it over and over again. This is a very interesting time to be alive. It is very challenging, but it's very exciting in the other way. But I mean, when you're in the gist of it, going through your shadow work triggers or whatever else you have to experience in your life to move from A to B, and to prove to yourself that, yep, I can survive anything, I can do anything, but like in order to learn that about yourself, you usually have to go through difficulties. So yeah, when we're in the gist of it, it doesn't feel that great, but then on the other side of it, like, oh yeah, why did I doubt it? Why did I, fight against it or whatever? But, we're just learning like everyone to live in a new way. So anyway, let's see what this Queen of the Moon has to say about this New moon in Aries, the first new moon of this astrological year. So let's see. New moon in Aries, what is the guidance? Wow, there are 3 cards. This is quite insane. 4. Oh no, there's too many cards. Okay, I'm just gonna take the top one and I'm gonna shuffle again. That was faith. Faith, you know, that's a good one to have. Okay, faith. Let's see if there's anything else that I'm supposed to know. Beginnings, faith in the new beginnings, and peace. Wow, so we have faith. This is 31, which is the number 4. You know, have a faith that something new is coming. This is number 2. You know, number 2 is the choice, the new beginning. We are choosing something new. This is a warm moon and it's a full moon. You know, so very likely there will be much more understanding again during the time of the full moon in Aries, which is on this September 26, 2026. And yeah, and here we have peace. You know, be at peace because things are happening for us, not to us. And when we have a faith, we can be at peace that yes, there is a new beginning. New beginning, right? We are entering into this portal, new beginning. We don't know where it's going, but when you have a faith, you are at peace, you know, that whatever is going to be birthed, you know, whatever comes to this earth, you know, just like, I mean, not my experience in this lifetime, but when you're pregnant, you know, you have the faith, okay, the baby's coming, you know, I'm gonna do my best, you know, to be the best parent I can be, you know, and it's gonna be a gift, right, for most people. Obviously not every single person feel that way, but you know, there's the diversity of humanity. But yeah, just general, you know, you don't know exactly what your baby is gonna look like, what it's gonna go through in life. You just have faith, you know, you have faith. Okay, yeah, this is gonna work out. Somehow it's gonna work out. You know, we just state in this new creation, you have a trust and faith that, yeah, I'm bringing new life to this planet and I am going to do my best to do a best job I possibly can, right? And then you are at peace. It's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. I'm gonna be guided, you know, I have faith. I'm gonna be guided through this new beginning, wherever it's gonna take me, you know, blue skies, green grass, you know, whatever is going to be, it's going to be fertile, right? It's gonna bring some new experiences over here. So yeah, that's what I mean. The cards are not saying much. Why? Because it's Aries. It's not yet manifest. You just say, yeah, new beginning, have faith, don't worry, it's gonna be fine, be at peace. You know, the universe, the spirit, the God, you know, whatever you want to call it, it's got you, just trust, you know, it's gonna be fine. But the mind is like, what you mean, I need to know, you know, I need to control, I need to, what if I'm gonna make a wrong choice? There is no wrong choice, you know, like with this new creation, it's just like, meh, you know, just decide, choose the one that pulls to your heart, right? The 5 number, the creation, the 5, you know, Mars in Aries on the 5 degrees, whatever pulls at your heart, whatever it gives you the best, the greatest sense of joy, right? And this is something which we also learning how to do, because with the in conjunction between Saturn and Virgo, it's like, well, you know, like, yeah, am I doing it right? But also like, what is this for? What's the point? You know, like with the Virgo, like, I need to calculate, I need to know, I need to organize, you know, like what is going to be my return on investment, right? It's just, well, you know, just Scorpio, just trust the depth of your soul, and it will guide you to the place that is more empowering. Okay, Sun, what is the Sun wanting to say with regards to this new moon in Aries? Sun in exaltation. Let's see. Sun in exaltation. What is the message? Purpose. This is so funny because when I picked up this deck after I shuffled it, this was at the bottom of the deck. Purpose. And isn't that interesting? You have 2 cards with 2 big ass moons. You know, 2 portals looking so similar. One is saying the beginning. We are beginning a new chapter for humanity where the purpose is changing. It is not about balancing the scales of karma and playing these all karmic roles to one another. No, now you're stepping into your true purpose, which is about what your soul wants to do here. That is your specialization, that is your soul signature. It is no longer about playing these roles to one another. Is co-creating with the universe something that is not continuation of the past or fixing the past. This is something completely new. You know, the sun burns the sun, sun in Aries, in exaltation. Sun is exalted in Aries because it wants to create new things, right? Which is something that is sometimes hard for us, because we go like, well, I just want to do it better than it was done before, so I replicate, right? But with the Saturn now in Aries, there's no replication. This is a new creation. So yeah, we are entering the path where you will learn more about your purpose. This is a number 1. This is a year number 1. And also the purpose of life, which is about the joy, the enjoyment of being a human. Like, I can taste, I can touch, I can smell, this is great. I came here to do many, many things, but alongside with many, many things I came here to do, as a soul in a physical body, I came here to enjoy being in a flesh and blood, right? So we are discovering many things. What is the purpose of being human? It's just to live life, the best life you can, and also through that you will discover what gives me the sense of joy. And this is my purpose. This is the things I came here to offer to the world. Offer piece of me. And at the bottom is the preparation. Preparation. We are preparing for harvest. We are preparing. And this is interesting because, like I said, the new full moon in Aries will be at the end of September, right? So this will be coming into the harvest season of the year, the early Libra season. So here you go. We've been prepared. Number 33, the Christ consciousness, heart consciousness. We are being prepared to live life that is full of meaning and purpose. And the purpose is not just about running, the running wheels, the turning wheels, being in a hamster wheel, being a cog in a wheel. No. You discovering what is the true purpose and meaning of my life here. There must be more than just go to work and pay bills and that's it. That doesn't give me much of a sense of purpose, even though you can say like, yeah, I'm doing this for my kids, I'm doing this for my family and stuff. But everybody say, I want better for my kids that I have experienced. So so somebody has to be the one to break the pattern, because otherwise everything is an application, right? Continuation of the old. So here we go. So this is something good. And then we're going to see the portal, which portal is opening up for us with the new moon in Aries. The portal into a new chapter for humanity. What is it? What's the portal that's opening up for us for the new moon in Aries on 27 degrees? Friday. Venus Day. Yeah, Venus Day. Okay, once more. I'll take this one. Stargate heart chakra opening, unlocking, and generosity. Yeah, Mars on the 5 degrees, Leo degree, right? Heart chakra, creating from that place of heart, which is the unconditional love of the universe, right? And there is the Merkaba, kind of. So it's the heart chakra opening. What's at the bottom? Angelic frequencies. Angels are here. You safe, potent connection. Yeah, being guided, protected. Neptune, Mars in the new phase conjunction with Neptune. Angelic beings here. Okay, I'm just gonna read the Stargate heart. Stargate heart. Okay. Your message. Your heart space is a sacred space deep within you. For sometimes you have protected it with psychic shields that have not only stopped you from being hurt, but also stopped you from feeling love. This gateway appearing shows that you have finally dropped these shields and are ready to experience love. Universal wisdom wants you to know that this is your divine right. You are a highly empathetic and generous soul who has so much to give, and you are being called forth to reveal deeper and more vulnerable aspects of your being. Divine light beings are surrounding you, angelic frequencies, surrounding you, holding you, and encouraging you to relax. Relax, and it's the same colors. Funny, eh? The same colors. The pinks, the purples, the whites, the orange. To relax. All the restrictions and blockages of your heart space have now been removed. The verse is behind you and the world needs you. And this is also the Chiron, right? The Chiron in conjunction with this moon. that which you might perceive as this is something that makes me, I don't know, damaged or faulty, or my wounds, they are actually the gifts for the world, right? Your wounds are your gifts for the world, because this is what makes you unique. And by us living to live with those these wounds, gifts, whatever it is, hurt, and to find the strength and find a way, to experience life despite that, alongside that, you're giving other people strength, motivation, people who will find tools, through whatever they've gone through, or share it, motivate others and stuff. This is the gift, the gift is not the mental stuff. The gift is the frequency, the gift is the energy. When we rub against each other, people are attracted to people, and they share the story, the Virgo, the story of their life, and that's the gift. Your story, your life is your gift, the gift that you share with others, everything that you've gone through, the good, bad, ugly, and all in between. So yeah, but just we were being made to believe that if it's not perfect, people, would say, modest, humble people would say, like, well, I just live ordinary life, I have nothing to share. But everybody's life is a miracle. It's special, it's unique. There are not two stories that are exactly the same. So this is, what we came here to do, what we came here to share, and what we came here to help the world with, the story of you, the story of your life, the miracle of you. Okay, the oracle card I chose will be from Sacred Destiny. This is one of the most popular decks when I do my reading, Sacred Destiny from Denise Lynn. So let's see, Sacred Destiny. What is Sacred Destiny wanting to share for this new moon in Aries, the first new moon of this new astrological year? Okay, let's take this one. Community. Yeah, it's all about the soul families coming together, building community, the rainbow after the rain, and this is kind of like technicolor, to create the world of colors. We all going through the process of metamorphosis, again, through the wound, through the things we've gone through. We keep attracting one another, perhaps it's like, oh yeah, I'll go to the webinar, or I go to the yoga class, or whatever it is, and there are people who come there for similar reason than you do, and then, you never know who you're gonna meet, who are my people, who are my community that we're going to build this more colorful world with. Because at the moment with the Aries, it's like, it doesn't have the colors yet, it's just like energy. It has not yet been put into authentic expression. And yet power, through all the situations, all the challenges we've gone through, like I mentioned before in this video, that's where you find out who you really are. That's where you find out how powerful you are, Taurus, resilient, that everything that you've ever gone through, you survive 100% of it. Because if you're still alive, you survived, you survived all of it. So if we would never go through difficult things, challenging things, we would never know. So that's why humanity is going through such a challenging time right now, for people to discover how powerful they really are, how strong they really are. And when they come together with the people that they resonate with, people who speak their language, people that they support one another. One person can say, yeah, well, I'm not very strong, I just gone through this and this, and then it takes the Libra, the other, to say like, wow, how much you've gone through, and like so humble or something. So that's what I mean. The power is in facing the darkness, the darkness and the light. When there is a dark, the light will come, and when there is a light, the dark will come to be seen, to be healed. So the contrast, the Scorpio, the black and white, and then the new colors that come out of it, the authentic expression, the Scorpio in square with Leo, right? The true power, like when you have nothing else to lose, that's where it all comes out. Like, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm living for. The Scorpio in your position with Taurus, the sense of resiliency, the Leo in your position with Aquarius, going through traumatic situation, difficult situation, to help you break the pattern. That's where you discover who you really are, your authentic expression, your heart desires, the purpose, what holds a purpose and meaning, what is really the most important thing, right? That's why Uranus now ending Taurus. It's making us to redefine, it's making us us to truly acknowledge what really matters. Why are we here? You know, what is our world built upon? Cars and designer bags? Like, who cares? You know, like, yeah, that's part of somebody's experience that's being valued, but that's not the reason, you know. So yeah, we all coming together with the people that you resonate with, you know. That's not everyone, and through the challenging situation we are learning, you know, we are learning what we can create together, you know. We finding our own strength and power. Okay, and final card, the major arcana for this new moon in Aries. New moon in Aries. The strength, this came up last time as well, I'm pretty sure, with the Libra one, the Libra full moon. The strength, allowing the higher self to guide you. The strength, the number 8, you know, the manifestation of everything that was before. You are the result of your life, you know. So yeah, so allowing the higher self to guide the human self through these trials and tribulations into this new horizon, you know, the solar plexus, to create a new sense of self, you know. The reincarnation is infinite, and at the bottom is temperance, balancing, healing, you know, a lot of healing that's going on. This is a Sagittarius card, because that new chapter has to be created, you know, the square from the from the Jupiter to the new moon, crisis in action. There is a lot of healing, balancing, you know, the heaven and earth. And this is number 14, which is up to number 5. Through the chaos and destruction, there is a lot of healing going on, because through all of these experiences, the old emotions connected to the same thing are resurfacing, so they can be healed, so a new choice can be made, so they can transform. So that's what's going on, you know. So the new story can be created for humanity, new chapter that is led by the higher self, not by the ego self, not being stuck in a trauma loop, but going beyond that, right? With the Uranus moving into Gemini, the new timelines that are becoming present for us, and with Saturn eventually moving into Taurus, they will start manifesting. All right, 1 hour later, here we are. So yeah, as I mentioned, I will be learning my birthday sale starting as of Monday the 20th until the end of the month. So if you wish to book a reading with me, this is your opportunity. I will be relocating at the end of this month back to Europe, so my time zones will change again, but you know, just bear with me. And yeah, I do hope that whatever you intend for your upcoming, you know, solar year, well, solar year with regards to astrology, but of course if you are a Taurus, your own solar year, like for example me, whatever you are intending for this next, you know, next cycle, astrological and your own, to bring into your life, manifested form, whatever you want to give form to, just, you know, have faith, trust, right? Trust, have faith, be at peace, that this is all coming, you know, this is all coming. It might not come in exactly in the detail by how you imagine it, but the new beginnings are here. The life that is of a deeper purpose and meaning, you know, because there is a huge healing going on for humanity. So the old doesn't have to be re-experiencing, and these difficult situations are making us stronger and are helping, you know, through the difficult situation, people coming together as a communities. They're learning to trust oneself and each other as empowered beings, rather than trusting structures and systems that might not have your best interest as a part of their best interest. And that's the role that they came here to play, to help us to become who we came here to become. So with all of that, I wish you all a wonderful new moon in Aries. I will be recording one more video from this side of the world, the full moon in Scorpio, and apart from that, I don't know what else will be happening with my recordings, because there is a lot of stuff going on in my personal life, you know, a lot of things are changing, transforming, shifting, and all the rest of it. So stay tuned, and I'll speak to you again soon. Much love, everyone, and bye for now.